Hello, dear friends. My name is Sofya Dorinskaya. I am a psychiatrist and the director of the Center for Medical Information and the School of Mental Health. Today, I want to answer the question, can students take NATROPS to do well in exams? And in general, it's better to think about it. Let's start by looking at how a person understands a text. And what is understanding a text? And how does this mechanism actually work? Well, for example, I have a book here and I'm studying some topic, scurvy, that is scurvy. So I'm studying it, I'm reading this text. For example, this is a lecture of mine at the institute. And what happens? So why am I reading this text? What is my goal? So that, in fact, this book with this text, this information stays in my head. And no matter how much time passes, I graduated from the institute in 1996. So yes, how long has it been? This year it will be 25 years since I graduated from the institute. All right? And so 25 years ago, I read this lecture. And what's the point? What does it mean that I understood this lecture? It means that no matter how much time passes, 25 years, 60 years, 160 years, it doesn't matter how long, when I need to find this information, when I need to answer a question that we discussed in this lecture that was presented to us, I can retrieve this information from my mind. And even without physically having the book in my hands anymore, I know what was written here. I can rely on this information. I can draw my own conclusions. I can observe a situation that was described in this book, and I can operate with this information. I can solve a problem that I clearly observe, which was described here. And in this way, I resolve, I handle my life, I improve it, I improve the lives of my loved ones, and so on. That is what makes me a professional. You see, I come in, I look at something, and I have truthful information about it, which I obtained when I was getting my education. And so, this is how I do my work, make my living, and so on. And it continues in this manner. See, so the primary objective when we study is for the information we are given to be effectively retained within our long-term memory. Why do people have problems? Children, it doesn't matter, or students who missed classes. You know very well that, for example, if a child was sick for 2 weeks and comes back, very often parents say that before that, the child was an excellent student. But after being sick for 2 weeks, everything fell apart and now they can't do anything. Why? Because when a person was sick, he didn't study it, he had it here. That is, everyone studied this data, everyone has it, but this child there or the student, he has a blank sheet of paper here, there is nothing here. And when this person comes to school, the teacher or lecturer relies on the data that everyone has, but the person here has nothing, there is a blank sheet of paper. He has nothing to refer to, even if he wanted to, so to speak, look at what was here before, but there's nothing to look at. It's a blank sheet, there's nothing there. You might say to me, well, okay, that's clear, and everyone knows that if you missed something, you need to catch up. Yes, that's understandable. But there are cases when someone goes to school, goes to university, and still nothing works out. Let me tell you about the barrier that exists. This is why the text we are studying doesn't make it into my head. I don't gain any understanding of this text. Right now, I will just imagine that I am your teacher and you are my students or pupils. It doesn't matter. I am reading to you, so we had with you a lesson and a practical assignment. And now I'm telling you to fry potatoes, you need to make krompli. And add borscht, but only erot, not eggis. Go ahead, do it. I am more than sure that many of you are looking at me right now with eyes like this. What needs to be done? So, you need to fry potatoes. Everyone understands, right? Fry potatoes. But to fry potatoes, you need to make krompli. And be sure to add borscht, but only oralt, not eggis. All right. And now just imagine that you are that very person sitting at the exam. I, as the teacher, say, go ahead, do it. Will you do what needs to be done? No. Of course, I told you this on purpose. The sentence deliberately knowing that you wouldn't understand certain words in this sentence. What is crumpli? It's potatoes cut into pieces, Hungarian style. What is borscht? It's pepper. Orlot is ground and eggies is whole. That's all. So if we decipher it, roughly speaking, translate it from one language to another, it turns out that to fry potatoes, you need to cut them into pieces and take black pepper, but only when it is finely ground up, not in its whole form, and certainly not in peppercorns. So, when there is a fundamental lack of clear understanding of specific words, this is truly one of the most serious obstacles that prevents the text you are currently studying from becoming a part of your own personal knowledge. From truly becoming your education, that is your store of knowledge about, and you would really, time after time, day by day, become a specialist who understands this world more and more. Understanding. This understanding what in essence is krumpli or borscht or erlt or egis. But here, there are specific words, you see. Every text has its own words and terms. These are not all the words you need to understand. Very often, even in texts in one's native language, there are common words whose meanings people do not know. For example, prepositions. The preposition is has, I think, 28 definitions in one of the dictionaries. Do you know all these definitions of the preposition is? Or za, you see? And this is, without a doubt, one of the most significant and challenging stumbling blocks or profound mysteries that we face today. How is it possible to fail to understand, even when you're learning in your native language, what is being said to you and to make that knowledge your own? That is why the ability to learn, the ability to work with text, the ability to identify where you didn't understand and to clarify those points, if nothing is clear at all, to go to the teacher and ask questions, you see? This is exactly what makes a person successful. A specialist, learning is hard work. If a student spends the whole semester half listening with one ear, catching bits and pieces here and there, and then tries, in those 3 or 7 days or 5 days, whatever is given before the exam, to prepare for the exam, and tries to cram it all into their head, well, no nootropic will help here. A nootropic cannot replace hard work. A nootropic cannot replace the hard work of studying. It just doesn't work that way. There is no such thing. It's impossible. It doesn't exist. A pill you can take and suddenly understand everything. Do you understand? There's no such thing. Because storing something in your memory and recalling it for an exam is one thing. There is such a mechanism of memory. You store it, take a mental snapshot, recall it, but a specialist is someone who understands and, most importantly, can apply it. You see, there's even a term for this. A quick-witted student can recall everything. All right, now go to the ward and show me where scurvy is. And that's where it's tested whether the person truly understands or not. And in reality, no nootropics will help you understand, because understanding is a tremendous effort. In fact, this continuous process of studying and gaining this kind of deep understanding is exactly what the entire history of human evolution is all about. This is what human evolution is. The next most banal reason why a person might study poorly is hunger. Of course, a hungry student is of course a common saying, and this is already established expression, poor student, hungry student, but again, if you are simply suffering from hunger-induced asthenia, you can't think because you're just hungry, then no nootropic pill will replace a piece of meat or a good meal. An 8-hour sleep so that you eat well, rest, and your asthenia, just your physical condition, is sufficient for you to work on the text. Do you understand? That's why studying consists of a lot of hard work, a kind of work that involves understanding the text, working with words, being able to use dictionaries, being able, after studying some data, to go and observe them in real life. Can I apply this? Did I really understand it? Do I really see it? Has this really brought me one step closer? to the state of being a professional. Who is a professional? Yes, someone who can get things done. Someone who comes to a place where there is chaos, illness, grief, or death, and who says, this is caused by that, here's what we do here, here's what we do there, here's what we do over here, and the situation gets resolved. That's what a professional is. And yes, here you really need to know a lot to work specifically with text, with words, to know how to use dictionaries, to know how to work hard in order to understand this. And next, of course, is not to be simply in a state of hungry asthenia, in exhaustion, but to get enough sleep so that you have the physical strength to pursue your science and become a professional. Tell me, gentlemen, in what part of this whole picture could nootropics or any kind of doping possibly fit in? Nowhere. Nowhere. You can't bypass the natural laws of life, such as a person needing to be well fed and well rested for their mind to work properly. You simply can't. It is impossible, I repeat, to replace a piece of meat with a nootropic pill. And also hard work. A lot of hard work is needed in order to study, understand, and apply. A lot of hard, difficult work, which is called studying. I hope I have answered the question whether students need nootropics. Students should be able to study, they should be well fed and well rested, and they should know how to learn and have the intention to work hard. Then they will become professionals. And this knowledge, if they acquire genuine knowledge, real knowledge in life, and this knowledge will help them get through all sorts of situations, allowing them to stay afloat, basically to manage their lives and live well. That's essentially why we study at all, isn't it? Thank you for your attention. This was Sofya Dorinskaya